Hello, everyone. This is Ben Dunn, founder of Van Arctic Press, a comic book publishing company founded in 1985. Creators such comics as the Marvel Mangaverse, Ninja High School, Tomorrow Girl, Warrior Nun, etc., etc. I'm going to have a couple of changes on my YouTube channel. I'm going to sort of divide it into sort of two separate channels, not actual channels, but sort of like in terms of topics. So I'm going to still doing surviving comics, which will focus on current events, the state of the industry, advice, experiences of running a comic book company and being a creator in this industry, and a new section called "It's Been Done Before," which will focus on Anarch Press history, comic book history, pop culture history, things that have gone on in the past. Because you know what they say, those who do not remember history are doomed to repeat it. And I would like to repeat some of the more successful parts of history, and which leads me to the topic of what makes something popular. You know, that's something I've always wondered myself. Is this, what is it about a certain intellectual property, as they say, that suddenly resonates with people on a scale that brings not only the company or the creator or that particular intellectual property financial, personal, spiritual, success, whatever success, whatever measure you use to measure success by. If I had the formula for it, I would be successful. I mean, that would certainly stand to reason. Am I correct? I mean, I could be wrong. The measure of success and failure is different among different people, especially among people in the artistic field, such as those who work in comics and entertainment and other fields of creativity, as they say. Because for the life of me, why in the world would anyone want to get into comics? I mean, holy jumping Jehoshaphat. The comic industry, everyone says, oh, it's doom and gloom, it's going to fail, no one wants to buy comics anymore, it's awful, we're doomed, and now it's happening to Hollywood, apparently. Latest rumor mill going around is that Hollywood's suffering huge financial collapse. They're seeing some success, but not enough to actually try to save it. Now, I don't know whether or not we're seeing the demise of Hollywood. Hollywood is very old money, very, very rich, despite what people say. There's still people out there who want to invest in Hollywood because they like the allure, all the trappings of Hollywood, the glamour, the attention, things like that. So, again, how do you measure success, and how does something become popular? Well, that's a really hard nut to crack. You don't know if something's going to be popular. Sometimes popularity can be manufactured. There was a Simpsons episode where there was a bunch of billboards that suddenly appeared and called for advertising the Great Gabo. Gabo is about to appear. Gabo is everywhere. People were asking, "Who's this Gabo? Who is it?" There was rumors going around asking what it was, and things like that. Excuse me, my throat is a little dry. Gotta rehydrate the old blabbermouth, so that I can continue with my ramblings, as they say. And people were getting excited about Gabo, and we started talking about it. And then when Gabo finally appeared, it turned out to be some sort of ventriloquist dummy, and it turned out that, and he became very popular, until, he did a infamous behind the scenes what he really thought of his fans. And now, it's kind of ironic, really, that Simpsons episode sort of predicted the whole, attacking the fans culture that now permeates our creative field. I mean, that's actually based on a Andy Griffith movie where he was talking about his audience behind the scene not realizing that the audience was listening, and he said what he really thought about his fans and his audience, and what he did in private was exposed, but now it seems people in the creative field have no fear of the backlash that they create when they attack their fans and their public. So, that is one way to destroy something's popularity, is to attack your fans, and the people who are supposed to support you. Now, every single person who enters the creative field that I know of, now I could be wrong, fully admit, I'm not the truth sayer in every single endeavor that happens to come along. Sometimes people become popular without realizing that they become popular. They may say something, do something. What did Andy Warhol say? Something like, everybody gets their 15 minutes of fame. It's whether you can sustain that fame, sustain that popularity. That's the trick. After your 15 minutes are up, what then? What do you do then? People will say, you were hot once, but we don't care anymore. I mean, a good example, as I always use, is Star Wars. Of course, other things been in the past have been very popular. Wizard of Oz, believe it or not. Alice in Wonderland, believe it or not. Still pretty popular. People still use it. It could be the popularity is because of the timelessness of those stories. The fact that they're in public domain probably helps a little bit. But that's the whole idea behind public domain, that you can keep something popular for a very long time, even after its popularity should have disappeared. That's the one thing about being in the public domain, is that if it's a good idea, it will last forever. I'll be very interested in seeing how DC and Marvel react when some of their characters start to fall into public domain. Oh yes, some of the very popular characters that are going to fall in public domain. Now, you have to realize that nobody thought that these characters were going to be popular. That's another thing, is how do you predict popularity of a certain character? Like I said before, sometimes it can be manufactured, but can it be sustained? See, I think it comes down to basically, does it resonate with people? Does the story, does the characters, does this situation, adhere to a core, a core feeling that someone has that says, "Oh man, I can identify with that. I can see that. I can understand that plight. I can understand that situation. I can, root for the character. I want the character to succeed, and I want it to be told in an entertaining fashion that I can walk away with feeling good about it." They say that it's not what people say to you, it's how you felt afterwards. Most people forget what people say when they have a conversation or listen to a speech or watch a movie. It's how you feel afterwards. When you watch a new product, a new endeavor, a new creative piece of art, how does that make you feel afterwards? Does it make you feel good, or does it make you feel miserable? Does it make you feel sad? What emotional? Does it make you think? That to me is how something eventually become part of the pop culture zeitgeist. Is how it makes you feel. How does it make the public feel? every single creative endeavor or creator that I know of wants his creation to be remembered. What wants his work and sweat and tears, to be spread among all of mankind, and that he's left something important, left a legacy. That's truly the ultimate goal of most creators, really. I mean, financial success is also important, of course. We want to measure some of our popularity by our financial success. If it's making $3 million from the first get-go, it must be popular. Oh, really? Outside its core audience, how does that really hit the vast public at large? I won't say it's easy to make that kind of money. No, it's very difficult. A lot of hard work, and kudos to people who have found financial success. But can it be sustained? Can you measure it beyond the limits of your core following? If you can, every time you put out a product and the same 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people, support that project, and it goes nothing beyond that, then how does it really become popular? Oh, sure, you've reached some sort of financial success. Quite frankly, if I made that kind of money, and I'll be honest with you, I'd put it in a mutual fund, put in stocks and bonds, and retire. If I made $3 million right now on a project, I'd do the project and then retire. I mean, there's no reason for me to actually work with it. And then what I would do as a creator, I just do stuff because I want to, because I feel like it. Or I could take that $3 million and do something really outstanding with it. Maybe create a scholarship. Maybe help other creators get off the ground. Maybe start sort of an investment bank where you have a creation that is worthy of my investment, then bring it to me and I'll take a look at it and see if it's worthwhile. Now, of course, it's all nice and mighty to be altruistic if you have that kind of money, but eventually it's going to dry up if you don't know how to spend it correctly. Nothing can be sustained if you don't have sustainability. And by sustainability, I mean popularity. If you can't keep something going that is popular enough to justify its continued financial existence, it's going to disappear. The reason things like Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, Star Wars, Wizard of Oz, Alice in Wonderland, Lord of the Rings, things like that, Back to the Future, things like that have sustained its popularity is because they continue to make money. That's the core, and because they continue to make money, they continue to be popular. But the reason they make money is because they're popular. Look, no one can predict, how popular something will become, when it first starts out. In fact, a lot of intellectual properties were people were skeptical as how successful it would be. I'm sure in J.R.R. Tolkien's world, he didn't care if Lord of the Rings became popular. He wanted to write his story. He had a good job already. What he did was he just did it because he wanted to do it, and it just turned out to be a piece of work that people loved. He didn't. I like to think personally he didn't care about the financial success. He was more concerned about the integrity of his work. He turned down a lot of things. He was very, very, very hands-on and very picky about who could adapt his work. For the longest time, he was very, very, how you would, retentive about his thing. Now, of course, he wasn't opposed to it. if the right creator came along to adapt it. He was no fool. He knew that he could make some really good, really good money by having his work adapted beyond simply the books. I mean, Ian Fleming, same way with James Bond. He wrote James Bond, in the early 50s, and by the late 50s, mid 50s, people were already wanting to adapt his books. And he was very flexible on about how people adapted his work. He was more interested in seeing his work being adapted, and of course, the financial benefits of his work being very popular. Now, the thing about it is that when something becomes popular, when people it starts to resonate, and start to get you a return on your investment of time and effort, then you lose control. That's the only caveat about being popular, is that eventually you're going to lose control over your intellectual property, because that's just the way things are. No one has total control, because comics, like books, are a medium that's unlimited. You can tell as long as stories you want in a comic book, just like you can in a book. Now, the difference is that comic books are a visual medium, which allows you to interpret what the characters are going to look like, how they're going to behave, and what actions they can take in a visual format. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, when you adapt it to a new medium. So, sometimes being popular also means just getting your stuff out there. Sometimes it takes a long time to build popularity of a certain character or a certain story, because people may not accept it at first, but over time they start to realize how good it really is. I'll give you an example. Is Gold Digger. Is a good example of what I mean by this. Now, when Fred Perry first started off with Gold Digger, it was an unknown factor. But Fred loved the characters. He loved the story. He loved the situation. He wanted to tell stories about his characters, so he kept at it. We were impressed by his work ethic and by his ability to produce an insane number of pages. He was fast. He was a very fast artist, and that's a big advantage in the comic book industry. Believe me, it is. If you can draw well and you can draw fast, that helps, a lot in the continued success of a particular series. Now, we decided to give Fred his own miniseries because he did it. And when you're a small publisher and someone hands you a 4-issue miniseries, that's ready to go, you don't say no. You say, well, when can we get it out? So we did get it out, and it was one of the worst-selling Anarctic Press books we ever did. Worst selling. I mean, usually by this time, independent comics were selling, regular 3, 4, 5,000 copies, and that was small independent comics. That was the bare minimum. The first issue of Gold Digger sold 800 copies. 800 copies. But we believed in Fred, and we did the series anyways. And he was so appreciative of that. And he asked us if he could do a regular series. He said, yes, Fred, we'll let you keep doing it. So he kept at it. And slowly, over time, he built up an audience. People saw the brilliance of Gold Digger. And then he became more and more popular as word got around. And people started talking about it. And fans began to spring up for the series. And then Fred, became very popular among comic book readers. Now, has it hit on a grand scale? Not really, not yet. Gold Digger is yet to reach its full potential, I think. Someday, when we do see a Gold Digger movie or video game or some such like that, that's when it will have truly exploded. then we can say it has truly reached maximum popularity. That's the same with a lot of creations. Some creations become popular over time, and some creators just become popular to a core group of people, which is fine as long as you can maintain doing that particular endeavor, and sustain it financially. Then there's no real reason for it to go beyond that. Some things have tried their hand at being popular and failed miserably, either because it just not resonate with with the general population at large, or it just didn't hit the right adaptation to attract the right people. To go beyond its initial stages. Now, another example is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Star Wars. Turtles started off as a joke. Star Wars started as just merely, a kids' film, a quote unquote kids' film. And in fact, Star Wars was referred to by the cast and crew itself as George Lucas's kids' film. No one took it seriously. No one thought it was going to do any type of financial success. In fact, George Lucas himself has so little faith in his own product that he didn't even go to the world premiere of this movie. He went out on a beach, on vacation with Steven Spielberg, where, surprisingly enough, they came up with Indiana Jones. But anyway, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, how did that become popular? Well, it started off as a parody of Frank Miller's Daredevil. And the title is what got people curious. But it was up to Eastman and Laird to show something really different. The title brought you in, but the story and the art, that's what really got people talking. Saying, wow, this is different, this is new, this is exciting. And that's the thing, is that we in the comic industry have a tendency to follow trends. We see something that's popular, and try to copy that so that we ourselves can become popular. Remember when Star Wars came out and the Turtles came out, all the knockoffs that came out. Everyone was trying to do the next Turtles, the next Star Wars. I'll tell you, that hardly ever works. No one wants the next Turtles. No one wants the next Star Wars. They already have Star Wars. They already have Turtles. They don't need the next one. What they want is something new and different. You notice a lot of things that have become popular, really popular, are all original works of art that have somehow resonated with people. When you create something, is it an original work of art? Is it something that is different than something else? And are you willing to experiment with that to the point where it'll start to resonate with people? I don't know. I can't predict the future. I can only say that, if you think of the next great American idea, stuck in your head, it does you no good to keep it stuck in your head. You have to share it with the world so that people can see how brilliant it is, how much it entertains. Until you actually do it, it remains hidden and it remains worthless. The only value it has is to you personally. So, in conclusion, what is popular to you depends on what is popular, how you build up, that particular intellectual property, how it resonates with the general public at large. How do you define it to yourself personally? Is success and failure? Sometimes things that started off as a creator, something that may start off as a failure for a creator, turns out to be later on be a work of genius. It just really, it really all depends. So I just wanted to say that don't give up on your dreams. Don't hide them. Share them with the world. You don't know if it's going to resonate with people or not until you actually do it. So just as Nike would say, just do it. You know. Until that's really all I have to say. I think I've ranted on long enough. So until next time, this has been done signing off.